But it would be the Nellies of the world that would teach me that I have to stand up for myself, that I couldn't always avoid them. In me avoiding the Nellies, I sacrifice my joy. I never grow. Just as Jacob, the father of the 12 tribes, would learn the same thing in wrestling with the angel. It would be Laban, his interaction with Laban, that would force Jacob to leave and go on this journey. And it would be all the threats that would be behind Jacob while he's on this journey, the threats of Laban. And then, Laban not being successful at keeping the relationship with Jacob intact. And Laban, his enemy, his friend turned enemy. This is what happens when you have people that feel like they can't partake of your blessings with you, or people that once knew you and now, there's a divide for whatever reason and they can't go on the journey with you any longer. Or if they can't play that role that they wanted to play with you any longer. They'll turn into enemies on you. This is what we see with Jacob and Laban. And, Jacob would work for Laban. Laban would be Jacob's uncle. And he would work for him for many years, and it would profit Laban tremendously having Jacob around. But once Jacob finally felt like, it's time for me to go on my own and leave this alone, then immediately it became problematic. Something that should not have been a problem became problematic, and Jacob became Laban's enemy. So much so that he would follow Jacob as Jacob left, and would find people that did not agree with Jacob and befriend them and provoke those people to go and try to attack Jacob, which would be Jacob's brother Esau. So now Jacob's on his way to begin a new life for himself, yet his past won't leave him alone. His past, all the people in his past that he spent seasons of his life with, are now coming together to try and stop him from standing and moving towards his greatness, because they want to be partakers of it. And not only do they want to be partakers of it, Jacob probably would have allowed them to be partakers of it. It was the fact that they could not direct the flow of Jacob's creativity. They were not able to be in control as they wanted to. It was a control thing that they were upset about. And Jacob would get to a place where he would have to face his fears. We all get to these places where you've got to face that thing that frightens you. And then you facing, you saying, okay, you know what, I got to face this, whatever it may be. Whether, for me, it was all of these situations coming upon me as threats to my livelihood, as threats to my life. And I had to sit and think to myself, what is it that I'm running from? What is it that's causing this fear to come upon me? Consistently, one thing after the next, it would present itself to me, and with the same spirit. And I would say, okay, that is what it is. I need to face that. For me, it was the transitions of life, the life and death situations. I had went through a significant health issue. And as a mother, any of us know, we're like, oh my God, what will happen to my children? What's going to happen to this? What's going to happen to that? All my hopes and wishes are going to go down the drain. What can I expect after this life? It put everything front and center for me. And I had to sit and face it. And all of that talk that I talked about, facing my fears and all of these things, in which I had done, had no, didn't come close to the fear that I had of these transitory states. And I realized that. And I had to sit down, friend. I'm telling you. And there's nothing more humbling than sitting down and facing your own morality. I had to sit down and conscientiously face it, because I could not and I would not allow it to make me bow to it. I can't live like that. I know God did not create any of us to bow to fear. No. The fear of whatever it is. For me, it was the morality of my being, the transitions of life, not welcoming the energy of it, but facing it so that it does not dictate the direction in which I move in my waking life. And once I was able to face it, just like Jacob, once Jacob was able to face it, once Jacob was able to wrestle with the angel, because that's what he feared. He feared the wrestling. He would run. Every time the wrestling would approach him, he would run, and he would run until you can't run anymore. And that was me. This whole morality thing, I ran from it. I would somewhat face it, and then after a season, I would deviate my attention from it onto something irrelevant just to busy myself. And it would appear and appear and appear. And it's God's signal to me. It was God's signal to me saying, I need you to face this. This boogeyman in the closet thing you got going on, you got to stare this thing down. And I did. And I took its power. I stripped it of its power. It don't scare me. All of these things are just as natural as being born into the world. You are going to transition out of this life, whether you have children or not. Period. So I figured I got to face this. And then facing it, I was able to put that to rest. And in facing it, I was able to stand in the totality of my creation without fear of somebody else coming upon me, doing anything, or without fear of any health issue coming upon me, happening. I'm equipped to handle whatever comes my way. It put everything into perspective. It put into perspective my relationship with God. It has been our relationship with God that has led us through all the monumental wins that we've had in this life. It has led us through all of the losses. It has led us through all of the hills and all the valleys, friend. That is the one thing that has been constant and consistent through it all, is that God has been with us through and through.